Once you've logged in, you may see this management dashboard, but most likely you're just going to be in the workspace that is called PSU VIL ePortfolio. In order to access the portfolio for your teacher candidate, click on the Submissions button. The fastest way to find the workbook that you would like to review is by clicking in the name for the student. So I'm just going to do this for one student here, and this is for Garrett. Once you type in the name, you'll see that there are two documents or two items. The workbook has a small orange and white icon next to it. The ePortfolio has the black and white icon next to it. The ePortfolio is something that they're creating over the entire course of the program. The workbook is what you're going to be primarily looking at for this term. Now that I've clicked on this, you'll see that the workbook is structured into three main menus here that have some pull downs. The first is the SMART goal, the second are the biweekly journals, and then the forms. The SMART goal, the students are to assess themselves around the GSE dispositions, and right now this student has submitted or written some strengths around this area. And then the teacher candidate is to write some areas that he would like to work on this term. The biweekly journals, you'll see that there are some instructions. So the instructions are that the teacher candidate submit these in weeks 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. And then they get feedback from the cooperating teacher and university supervisor in the odd weeks. And we're in week 1, so there really isn't anything here yet, but once the teacher candidate completes this form, it looks like a form on the student end or the teacher candidate end, it will populate. And then the last main category for the workbook are the forms. The permission forms have hyperlinks to the actual form, so you can download them from here. Actually, these permission forms, really the teacher candidate does not need to deal with directly, other than trying to help the teacher candidate identify a parent who would be willing to sign a permission slip so that the student can record the videos. And for any student who's going to be recorded, we want to have the parent permission, of course. The field experience checklist, this is a form that will be reviewed at the beginning of the term. It has a list of different activities the teacher candidate can complete, and as a cooperating teacher, you can discuss how that teacher candidate can engage in some of those activities. You might schedule some particular observations, for example, an IEP meeting, those kinds of things. And this form is actually used throughout the program in the different field-based experience courses. So for those who are doing their second practicum, they'll use the old form from the last time they took their practicum. Then this is the tab for the observation forms of teaching. There's a minimum of 3 for the cooperating teacher and a minimum of 3 for the university supervisor. And right now there are placeholders. There are no submissions at this stage. Once there are submissions, this will look a little bit different. And the midpoint and final evaluation forms, there's no hyperlink that takes you directly to this evaluation form because we are still finalizing it, but this is the form that's completed between the teacher candidate, university supervisor, and the cooperating teacher to assess where the student teacher candidate is at within the practicum placement. And then the log of hours is completed at the end of the term, although the forms are maintained throughout the term to track the hours each week. And it's recommended that students review this form early on, like by week 2 or 3, to just kind of make sure that the teacher candidate is accruing between 9 and 10 hours of field-based experiences each week. The form itself has some very specific information about what can be counted towards hours. So there's a little bit of wiggle room, planning, lesson planning, things that maybe don't take place in